This video is a link recording of smartphone and tablet training done with District 12 agents on November 13th, 2012. Okay, so the kind of the first first slide we've got here is on the presentation should say, "Do I need a tablet?" And one of the things, the point there is what will a tablet do for you that your smartphone or your laptop will not? So we just kind of touched on some benefits here. One, your smartphone, whether it be an Android or an iPhone, a tablet obviously has a bigger screen. It makes it easier to see. If you're using it to do emails or navigate the web or read things on the web. Generally, when I'm looking at stuff on my iPhone, I have to blow up the text big enough that I can read it, and then you have to sit there and scroll back and forth, and it really becomes an art form of how to move your finger back and forth and read and scroll the page at the same time. One of the nice things about tablets, although they're still small, the screen is actually big enough to be on websites that were designed for computers and still be able to read pretty much everything. As far as what a tablet has over a laptop is, then of course, is that it's smaller and it's lighter. One of the really nice things is if you do a lot of air travel, they don't make you take your tablets out of your bag like they do a laptop. When you travel with a laptop, they always make you take it out, put it in its own container. How they don't think you can blow up a plane from a tablet, and you could from a laptop, I guess. I don't know what the rationale for that is, but that does make it a lot easier to travel. The other nice thing about it is especially when you're working with producers and you want to show them something real quick. Generally, your laptop, when you open it up, you've got to log on to it, and it takes a little bit of time to come up. Your tablet is just instant on. You click on the on button. Normally it's just asleep if you haven't shut it all the way off, and it just pops right up and you go instantly into things. So that's one of the things that makes it nice if you're working with producers and trying to show them stuff, is that instant on ability and being able just to grab it out of your bag right out in the field somewhere and turn it on and show them the app that you're working with. So the next thing that we've got is, can a tablet actually replace your laptop then? If it can't, why do you need a tablet? Well, one of the things that I've found is if you travel a lot, it can really replace your laptop. I took my first trip to Birmingham earlier this year where I didn't take a laptop at all, and I was about to panic. I needed a file that I had to send somebody that they needed right away, but because we do have, you can remote control your desktop computer from your tablet, I was able to get that file and attach it to an email and send it to the person that needed it, and I actually made it without ever having my laptop with me, and it made it a lot easier to travel. As far as on the negative side of things, another thing that we do in Extension a lot is give presentations. If you have an Android type tablet as opposed to an iPhone or an iPad, you're going to have trouble connecting to most projectors out there. The newer projectors all are mostly high def and have HDMI connectors, just like your TV has at home. And those are fine because most of the Androids put out their video on HDMI. Apple doesn't use HDMI. They use their main plug that's on the bottom of an iPad or your iPhone. And for that, you have to have an adapter. The good thing about that is they make a VGA adapter that'll plug into your older style projectors. They also make an adapter that'll plug into HDMI. The nice thing about that adapter is you can plug in the power cord and continue to charge your tablet while you're running the program. So if you got an all-day program and you're going to run it off your iPad, it's nice to have the HDMI output. But again, if you don't have an HDMI projector, that doesn't do you much good. So for the most part, to integrate with the technology that we're already using, you're probably still going to need to have your laptop as far as for doing presentations, especially if you have guest speakers. They're going to come in with a stick drive, and you're going to need that laptop for that. Okay. So we're kind of jumping back here, and the title of this slide is "What is an iPad?" And it really kind of relates more to what type of iPad or tablet am I looking for. The first decision you got to make is how much memory do you need. If you're not doing a lot of videos, then 16 gigabyte is plenty to run all your apps, so the pictures that you might take and kind of keep on it in the field, music that you might have on there, and books to read. If you travel a lot and you have videos to watch on the airplane or audiobooks to listen to as going down the road, you might need more space because they'll take up a lot more room. As far as which iPad, the iPad 1 or 2 or 3 or a mini or the new 4 that's coming out, iPad 1s, you might be able to get one really cheap, but they don't have a camera. They don't have the ability to move the screen to a projector or onto your TV or anything like that. So they're really very limited. I mean, they're not much better than just like a Kindle. The 2, as far as a 2, we can't see much difference between 2 and 3. The 3 has a better camera and it has a higher resolution screen, but for most of the apps that you're running, you don't really need that high resolution screen anyway. It's not going to make any difference because the apps weren't programmed to the high resolution unless it's something video related. As far as the mini goes, haven't got to use that yet, and I'm not sure. Of course, it's got the 7-inch screens to the 10-inch, so you're going to lose some of that screen size that was a benefit of having a tablet. As far as whether they're Wi-Fi or cellular data enabled, for most of us in extension, we're going to spend a lot of our time around Wi-Fi, and most of the iPads that we have are Wi-Fi only. And part of the reason for that is when we go out in the field, the places that we travel don't have a good enough 3 or 4G cellular service to actually use data out in the field anyway. And so you may get that service and be paying for the monthly data service, and then all the places that you travel, it doesn't even work. So we usually just go. The nice thing about getting one that is cellular enabled, you don't have to sign a contract. You can go month to month. Just know that if you do a month contract, that you need to cancel it before the end of the month, or it automatically renews. So if you're going somewhere and you're going to be where there's good 4G or 3G coverage, and you need to do some type of presentation with it or do some work with it, you can always just sign up for 1 month's contract and pay for that, and without having to sign a whole year contract like you would on a cell phone. $30 days at a time. Yeah, and the amount of data, you can get different sizes of data. You can get a large amount or a small amount, but they're generally 1 month contracts. Okay, so some of the time, some of the things that we're using iPads for a lot, email, the various apps that you can download, browsing the internet, FaceTime, use it as a camera, use it for your presentations. I carry my iPad and my little adapter cable with me, and for the most part, I like to just go up and hook up to the VGA camera instead cable instead of using the computer that the person has there. And one of the reasons I like to do that is because the link up between my iPhone and iPad, and if we do a presentation with Keynote, then there's a Keynote remote program, and I can use my iPhone as my remote control. And the nice thing about that is it puts my notes, my speaker notes, in the palm of my hand, so that I have kind of cheat notes as to what it was I wanted to say about that slide. So if the main thing you do is the list of items here, email, apps, and included in apps are things like Facebook, LinkedIn, any of those kind of Twitter apps, all those kind of things. If that's where you spend most of your time, then a tablet is pretty much all you need. If you use it, if you use a computer the way my wife does, she really doesn't need a computer. But when we bought hers, it was like $400, and most of the iPads were $500–600. We could actually buy her a computer cheaper. But with some of the new Android tablets that are out that are only $300, you just can't hardly beat that, and it's nice and compact as well. Okay, as far as compatibility with your computer, you can the file sharing between the two. I like to use something called Dropbox, an app, and you can download the Dropbox app onto your PC, on your desktop computer, your laptop computer, just about anywhere. And so then you can share all different kinds of files through that, whether they're Excel, spreadsheets, Word documents, PDFs, pictures, anything. Now there's 3 programs on that are created by Apple. One is called Pages, which is the Word-like app. It basically replaces Microsoft Word as an app. Keynote is the PowerPoint app, and Numbers is the Excel type app. And with all 3 of those, you can transfer back and forth between Word, PowerPoint, and Excel, but you lose a little bit of resolution because, like on Pages, not all the fonts and all the formats are the same, and so they don't always transfer. If it's very simple text, most of it will transfer just fine. If you've done like a newsletter in Word, it's probably going to look funny when you transfer it over to Pages. Same way with Keynote and PowerPoint. Most of the PowerPoint works pretty good, but the slide transitions are different between Keynote and PowerPoint. Actually, Keynote has a lot cooler looking slide transitions than what PowerPoint does, so you can actually do some more interesting graphics. But the fonts are different, and one of the things we found is the color palette is slightly different. So some colors of background items you might have might turn out differently. I know on my Android, it has a PowerPoint thing called Polaris, and it when the maroon colors on our AgriLife PowerPoint templates, actually one of them actually comes out bright green when you show it on Polaris. So just some of those things that you have to adjust. Usually what I do is I build the PowerPoint in PowerPoint on my desktop, and then send it over to Keynote, and then go through each slide and make sure they came out all right. And any of the ones that look funny, then I fix, and then I may change the transitions. But as far as Safari, which is it's the browser that's on Apple, and so if you have an iPhone, Safari is what you're using for internet. It's one of the bad things about Safari is it's not compatible with some of the A&M system sites, and you have a lot of our sites, especially like our reporting, the Texas reporting site has to use Firefox, and Safari doesn't work with the Texas report system. So you can't do your monthly report from your iPad. If you have an Android, though, there is Mozilla Firefox for Android. And so in that case, you can actually do your monthly report from your Android tablet or your Android smartphone. So, you know, that way, the bad part about that is if you have an Android, then you got no excuse for the DEA when you didn't get your report done on time. So if all you had was an iPad, you got a good excuse. iCloud, in my speaker notes here, it says iCloud still confuses me. There is an iCloud for PC server now, and I've got it installed on my desktop and my laptop. And so you can, when you save things to iCloud, like your photo stream, which is the pictures part, and your spreadsheets that are in Numbers, and your PowerPoints and Keynote and Pages, those can all be shared directly onto your PC. The only problem is, you know, you can't open Keynote on PC because there is no Keynote. But you can translate them over, but it will automatically sync it up to your PC and your desktop. One of the things about Apple is it just kind of makes a lot of assumptions for you, and it puts everything where it thinks you want it without you getting to tell it much about where you want things to be. So just be prepared when if you sync everything together with iCloud that you might lose track of where it is, but it's usually still there. Some of the other things that that we can do as far as with your iPad, iPhone, we can print, you know, with any type of a Wi-Fi printer that has, if it has AirPrint capabilities, usually you can just print directly from your iPhone or your iPad, just in the little air icon on something. One of the options usually is to print it, and I do that all the time. I have an HP Envy printer that works really well, but just about any Wi-Fi printer. If you've got an Android, generally speaking, with most Android tablets, you need to download the app that's from the printer company. So on my Android tablet, I actually have an HP wireless app, and when I go to print anything, then it automatically finds any HP printer that is on the same wireless network with my Android, and then it lists all those printers and asks me which one I want to print to. And it works real seamless and real easy. So that works pretty good. As far as projectors, I kind of already talked about that. You know, VGA projectors with the right adapter work with iPads and iPhones. Most of your Androids only put out their video output through an HDMI, so you'd have to have a newer projector for that. The keyboards for iPhones and iPads are going to be Bluetooth, and I actually have a Logitech keyboard that is anodized aluminum case, and it's got the keyboard in it, and I like that well. As far as on the Android, they're a little different. They do have Bluetooth, but the Asus Androids actually have what they call their mobile docking system, which is a keyboard and an extra battery and extra SD card slots and USB slot, and it's a little bit more expensive, but it actually does a lot more and turns the tablet almost into a little computer then. One of the things about syncing with the computer, I know sometimes people they're afraid what all's going to sync, and they don't always want to do that. But you got to remember, if you don't sync with a computer, then you don't have a backup. We had one of the iPads here in District 2 that crashed, and it wasn't backed up to anything, so we just had to restore it back to defaults, and you know, anything that was on there was just gone then, because it had never been synced with a computer. So you don't have to sync over the internet, though. You can sync with the USB cable if that's one of the issues, that you're not wanting to use all that internet time just syncing with computers. So as far as then the go to the next slide. Um, you know, I haven't, as far as in system cost shares, I don't know. What there could be is maybe putting together some grant type opportunities. We were able to get a Southern Risk Management Education grant to buy, we have an iPad lab, and one of the things that they asked us, the granting agency, was, when you get through with this grant, what are you going to do with all those iPads? Are you going to give them to agents? And so, well, we are actually putting the lab together because we were planning on getting another grant the next year and the next year, and we were going to use it for multi-years in the grant. But there might be some opportunities in some federal block grant type deals with NEPA and USDA that that we could actually get them into agent hands if they were part of an educational program that we were doing. So that would be my way of doing it. I don't see anything coming out of our administration with state funds for cost share. I hadn't heard anything. I would think you'd want to try to do it with some federal funds. But okay, I've been kind of going along talking about Android versus iPads all the way through. One of the things to note, one of the big pluses people talk about with Android over iPads is that iPads don't run Flash, and so some websites that run Adobe Flash and they don't work right on an iPad. Well, Adobe has not come out with a new Flash player for the Android 4s, which Android 4 is going to be either the operating system called Ice Cream Sandwich, which is 4.1, or Jelly Bean, which is 4.2. And Adobe has not written a Flash player for either one of those operating systems yet. So one of the benefits of getting an Android tablet that people always tout is that, well, it runs Flash and Apple doesn't. Well, the new Androids don't run Flash either. Not sure why. And I check back every week to see if Adobe has ever come out with a new Flash player, and so far they haven't. The new player on the scene is the Microsoft. Microsoft Surface is coming out, and it runs Microsoft 8. Some of the other manufacturers are running Microsoft 8. The kind of the hybrids, you've probably seen them because they've been advertising the heck out of them during everything, including football. And that's the Ultrabooks, which is Ultrabook is from a design by Intel, but then it's manufactured by Dell and Lenovo and Toshiba. Just pretty much everybody is making an Ultrabook, and usually those are a touch screen type of a laptop that can normally they flip the screen to where you can use them as a tablet. So it's kind of like a small laptop or a large tablet, because they generally have about a 11 to 13 inch screen. There's also the Microsoft 8 straight up tablets that are 10 inch. Asus has one of those, and I'm not sure what size the Surface is going to be from Microsoft. One thing to look at, if you go in and are looking at Microsoft running tablets, is some of the ones that have been out for a while actually run Microsoft RT, which is kind of like a light version of Microsoft 8. If I were going to buy something Microsoft, I would probably steer away from that right now, even though you'll look at it and you'll think, man, this is great because they give you free Microsoft Office with this tablet. That's usually your key to know that it's actually running RT, because it has a Microsoft Office Lite version on its light version of the operating system. If it actually has Microsoft 8, one of the ways you'll know it has Microsoft 8 is that you have to buy Office to go on it. So The nice thing about running a full-blown version of Office on there is then you don't have to worry about conversions back and forth between your PC version and the other, except that the new Microsoft 8 tablets are going to be running Office 2013. So if you have a much older version of Office, that could become a problem, as we've seen in the past, on trying to go between the two. The next slide that I had up there is something that y'all may be familiar with, the QR codes. That's getting to be a popular way to direct people to your information. There are some websites that will help you generate QR codes for free. You basically put in the URL that you want that to point to, and it generates a QR code as JPEG file, and you just download that JPEG on your computer, and then you can put it on your newsletters, you can put it in any kind of publication, you can put it on business cards, and then when people scan that with their iPhone, it'll take them to your county website or wherever that is you're wanting them to look at. One of the things that people don't use QR codes for as much is they can just have information that goes with them. It doesn't necessarily have to go to something on the internet. It can just actually stand for a limited amount of text information. So when somebody scans it with their phone, it might just give them a little message. That might be something kind of neat to do with 4-H project stuff. I'm not really sure how, but you might think of some way. But if you just look up QR code generation in Google, it'll take you to a couple of different sites that do it for free. And yeah, and as far as having on your iPhone, especially your iPhone, that's one app if you don't have it. The one that we use is called QR After. It's just QRAFTER. And I like it because it gives you a lot of options on how to use it. It doesn't just automatically run the scan. You can scan the QR code, and then it'll take you to the website, or it'll show you the information or whatever is behind that thing. Okay, some of the other apps that we are using, and I think the slide y'all have has something about FCS in the middle. You can just ignore that. But some of the most useful things is weather. One of the nice ones on an iPad versus an iPhone is the DTN app. There is no DTN app for an iPhone because they have so much information packed on there you just wouldn't be able to see it anyway. So that's an iPad only app. Most of the ag magazines have apps that are mostly designed for an iPhone. One of the ones that's really nice is Dragon Dictation, and that allows you to just take voice notes, and they're put right into text. So if you want to dictate your newsletter comments as you're driving down the road, and then just be able to pop them an email to the secretary to put in the newsletter, that's a really nice feature there, and it's really pretty accurate. It's going to convert into text whatever you said. So maybe you don't want to do it driving down the road. No telling what you might get there. And then I mentioned it before. There's if you are using Keynote, there's an iPhone app called Keynote Remote that links up with the Keynote on your iPad, and then you can run your slideshows. On Android, there's also an app called PowerPoint Remote, and you can. One of the things I like about using that is if you got your desktop computer hooked to the projector, and you run the PowerPoint Remote app on your Android tablet, then the text on your notes is actually big enough to read. Sometimes on the iPhone, if you have a lot of notes, they're kind of scrunched in there. It's hard to read them all, but it's a lot easier to read on the tablet. And so that's another option to go if you're wanting to use your computer. One bad thing about that is you can't remote control your somebody else's PowerPoint, because you actually have to install the server, and it can run off of Wi-Fi or Bluetooth if you're somewhere where you don't have Wi-Fi. But it has to be tied back together with one that you installed the software on. And this is kind of something that we usually do with more of a demonstration, just making groups. You just do that by dragging icons one on top of another, and it creates a group. One of the things that a lot of people, I don't think, realize that you can do is you can, when you're in Safari, some of your bookmarks, there is a way to save that bookmark onto your desktop, if that's what you want to call it, so that you don't have to open Safari and then go to bookmarks. You can just click the icon, have a shortcut right there on your desktop for that. Another thing that a lot of folks that are new to iPhone or iPad that they don't realize is that when you open an app, all your apps are running until you close them. And one of the things we'll see a lot of times is somebody who's had an iPhone or iPad for a couple months, and we'll see that every app that they own is all running at the same time. That can really run down your battery life. And the way you the home screen on either your iPhone or your iPad, when you single click it, it takes you out of an app and back to your home screen. But if you double click it, it will actually show you what apps are running in the bottom, and then you can press and hold on them until they wiggle, and then they have a little red X, and you can just hit that little check and shut them off. That's one thing that people a lot of times don't know how to do, and it will greatly improve your battery life if you have a lot of apps running at the same time and you go in and close those. Generally, it doesn't hurt to have them running. They don't. It doesn't slow things down. One thing that on most of the Androids, it's a completely different way of closing out and clearing. Android apps actually close, but they leave a cache behind, and so it's kind of like your PC, that every now and then you have to go clear the cache or it starts slowing your computer down. Well, Android's the same way. If you don't go clear those out every now and then, it will start slowing it down. And that's a little more complicated, except there is an app for that. And if you've got an Android, you just look for a cache clearing app. And otherwise, you have to go through the settings and do it one by one. And so having an app for that is real helpful. The last slide that we've got in this presentation, other than my contact information, is we've been involved with developing some new apps that are ag-related, and it's going to be one of those things that we're probably going to write up a Journal of Extension article or something about how to do it. It's been a lot more difficult, not only with dealing with our own administration and also dealing with Apple, and you put the two big bureaucracies together, and it becomes almost impossible. So far, there are only 2 AgriLife extension apps out there. One is a food safety app, and the other is the Texas Eden app. We have 3 more that we're waiting to submit, and just trying to get through all the process right now. With that, I'll just open it up to any questions y'all might have.